What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be replacing the brakes on the E30. The front rotors and pads are absolutely shot and it's time to replace those. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that in today's video. So first things first, I'm going to break the torque on the lug bolts. And then I'm going to jack the car up, get those wheels off so we can have access to the rotor and caliper assembly. So I've got the car all jacked up, and this is a good time for you to check your wheel bearings, tie rod ends, etc. What I noticed on this side is I do have a slight play in the wheel here. When I had the wheel on, I checked it with the car up in the air, or the wheels up in the air. And from here I noticed that there was a little bit of wiggle from left to right. This can indicate either a bad wheel bearing, but most likely it's going to be a tie rod end. You can check it by going back here and checking your bushings when you move it. Right here is the tie rod, and I noticed that it kind of wiggles a little bit in here, so this bushing's going bad and it's getting loose, so it's going to be time to replace the tie rods pretty soon here. But let's move forward with replacing the brakes. As you can see that this rotor has quite a bit of ridges going on here, showing that the pad wear is not even, and it's got some scoring going on. So we're going to be replacing the rotor and the pad on both sides on the front. From here I'm going to be removing the caliper. It's going to be these two little 10mm looking bolts right here on the top, and then there's also going to be one here on the bottom right here. So the pads were actually in pretty decent shape, which is weird to see. Seems like they may have just pad slapped the rotors with the pads, which is basically not resurfacing the rotors when you apply new pads. As you can see, this one has those grooves on it, and the back one looks almost brand new, and doesn't look like it was wearing down really at all. So very, very interesting how that happened. You can kind of see the depth difference there, but nonetheless, we're gonna go and replace those. After you get the caliper off, you can then remove the bracket here, and then the rotor should just come off. Now another great opportunity that you have is to check the seal on the piston on the caliper. So I'll go in here and I'll check the rubber seal that's going on in here and kind of clean out any crud that's inside that piston to make sure that we're getting even application on the pads. So with a little encouragement from the mallet, we were able to get the rotor off. A bunch of debris came out because it was kind of rusted to the surface here. But now that this is all exposed, a good time is to clean this off with a wire brush. Then you can get your new rotor and basically work your steps back to reinstall everything. So we are going to be installing new rotors from ECS Tuning. These are going to be just a basic flat rotor, great OE replacement, and then we're also going to be installing Hawk pads, and it does come with new rotor retaining screws that these ones actually did not have. These are pretty important, because if you don't have these, the rotor will continue to kind of spin a little bit, and then it will be offset from the threads on the hub, and that's pretty bad. If you guys would like a similar kit for your vehicle, which I do recommend, I'll put the link down in the description below for this exact kit together for your E30. So now let's get started with the install with the new rotor and pad. So I had to move on to the driver's side because I ran into some issues on the other side. This is essentially what the new rotor and pad looks like now on this driver's side. Looks super clean. I'm really happy with the fit and finish of it. However, on the passenger side, we ran into the issue of a seized piston in the caliper. I've tried multiple attempts and different ways to resolve it, and I think what I'm going to have to do is just get a remanufactured caliper in order to replace this. Essentially, the piston won't compress into the housing enough for me to insert the new pads. I first tried to use a C-clamp and a flat piece of wood in order to compress it. That didn't work, so then I went back throughout the system to see if there was a holdup in the fluid pressure. I was able to fully drain fluid out of the bleeder valve completely fine. So that's ruling out that. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that this caliper is seized because it's pretty rusted in there. And the brake fluid that came out of this was kind of tinged red. So my assumption is maybe a seal failed in here and began to corrode and cause that piston to seize. So I will be back with you guys tomorrow, a new manufactured caliper, and we're going to install that guy. and we'll put it all back together and we should be done. So it's the next day and I was able to get the caliper, and I'm actually really stoked with this. It's from Centric. Here's the part number for you guys if you want to check it out. Centric makes great rotors and other brake components, and I've always had good luck with them and their products. However, this caliper, I thought it was just going to be like this. You can't really see. I thought it was just going to be like this, just the caliper itself, not really the bracketry or any of the new fittings or anything like that. I thought I'd have to reuse everything, but this comes as a complete assembly. New brake adapter, or like the bracket itself. You get the whole caliper. It comes with a fresh piston on the inside with a new bushing, or like the new rubber seals. Also comes with these bushings as well, new nuts, new bleeder valve. Like, this thing is just like really nice, brand new. Might almost be worth just getting another one for the driver's side as well. But this was only, I think it was 109 or something like that. And then there is a core deposit. So definitely check these out if you're in the market for a new caliper. You're looking at the brake caliper.
What is that, this thing?
That's the rotor. This is the caliper. Oh. It's brand new. I just bought it.
Where's the other one? Old one.
Look at the other one on the other side.
Oh yeah.
See, this one's all old and rusted. I should have just replaced both of them, but oh well. So as you saw before, everything is all done and installed. I just have to finish torquing some stuff on the back of the caliper. But after installing this new guy, I bled the lines, and on both sides, topped off the brake fluid. Made sure that we were getting some clear brake fluid coming through those bleeder valves on both sides. And I'm pretty stoked so far. I think this looks really good, looks a lot better. Like I said before, I think it might have been a good idea just to replace both of them, but it's not really a big deal. The other one works totally fine, so I'll just leave that. But I'm gonna put everything back together, clean up, take this thing on a little test ride, and see how the brakes feel. As far as torque specs go for the caliper and the install, it's gonna be about 9 foot-pounds on the rotor retaining screw. On the caliper bracket bolt, which is going to be the bracket that holds the caliper to the hub, those are going to be 90 foot-pounds, and then I believe it's 20 foot-pounds for the caliper to the bracket bolts. And all those are the only 3 things that you should have to torque when doing the brake install. So after putting roughly 50 miles on the car, I can already notice some huge improvements with the new brakes. So it's hard to say if this huge improvement in the braking capability of the car was solely attributed to the new rotors and pads, but I think it's also a mix with the new caliper, because that front right caliper pretty much wasn't working at all. I was only running on the front left brake and then the rears. I think now that I do have even brake application in the front, the car just immediately feels way better. Also, these pads and rotors have a great immediate firm feeling when stepping onto the brakes. That also could be fresh brake fluid as well. So when you're replacing your brakes, make sure you do all those things. Make sure everything's working properly, fresh fluid, make sure both calipers are working, and then get yourself some nice rotors and pads. Will feel like it's almost new. So as you can see, the rotors still have some wearing in to do. There's still that cross hatching that's on a fresh rotor, but you can also start to see that the pads are slowly bedding in, and it's nice because it's evenly wearing on both sides, which shows that the fresh caliper and the flush of the brake fluid is showing that I'm getting equal wear on both sides. So I'm extremely happy with the result of this install. If you guys want to get yourself some rotors and pads, I'll put the link in the description below. I'll also link a spare caliper in case you run into the same issue that I did. And I will also include some stainless steel lines and fresh fluid, which is a great upgrade as well. So thank you all for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.